In the late summer of 1977, a small spacecraft slipped quietly away from Earth. It was not large, not powerful, not even designed to return home. Its name was Voyager, and it carried with it a golden record, a fragile disk that contained the sounds and images of our world, a time capsule launched into the unknown. The mission was bold. Voyager was sent not to one planet, but to two of the giants of the outer solar system, worlds so far away that, until then, they had been little more than specks of light in a telescope. No one had ever seen them up close. No one had ever flown so far. And yet, from the very beginning, the spacecraft was aimed at a journey that could last not just years, but decades. The first destination was Jupiter. From Earth, it had always been a glowing dot in the sky, sometimes bright enough to outshine every star around it. But as Voyager approached, that distant dot grew into a vast world. Clouds hundreds of kilometers thick swirled across its surface, bands of cream and amber circling endlessly around the planet. At the heart of this restless atmosphere lay the Great Red Spot, a storm that had raged for centuries. Through telescopes it was little more than a smudge of color, but Voyager revealed its true scale. It was not just a storm, but a hurricane so vast that 3 Earths could vanish inside it. Here, wind screamed at hundreds of kilometers an hour. Currents twisted into spirals larger than continents, and yet the storm refused to die. Year after year, century after century, the red spot endured, a furious scar on a world made entirely of gas. Above Jupiter's poles, a different kind of spectacle unfolded. Brilliant arcs of light, auroras, flared and rippled in the thin upper atmosphere. On Earth, the northern lights are gentle curtains of green and violet, dancing quietly in polar skies. But on Jupiter, the auroras erupted with violent bursts of color, shaped by a magnetic field 10 times stronger than Earth's. Here, light itself seemed alive, surging and crackling across the planet's crown. Jupiter was not alone. It carried with it a vast family of moons, a miniature solar system in orbit around a single giant. Some were small and cold, but others defied every expectation. Io, for instance, was alive with fire. Until Voyager, scientists assumed moons were dead worlds, their surfaces frozen in silence. But Voyager's cameras caught fountains of lava erupting into space, great plumes of molten rock rising more than 100 kilometers high. It was a shocking discovery. A volcanic world orbiting within Jupiter's immense gravity, its surface constantly reshaped by fire. Europa, by contrast, was a study in stillness. Its surface was pale and smooth, crossed by thin lines and fractures, as though an artist had etched patterns into a sheet of ice. Voyager's images suggested that beneath this frozen crust lay something extraordinary, a vast ocean of liquid water. Later missions confirmed it, a global sea, salted and dark, hidden beneath kilometers of ice. And where there is water, there may also be life. Europa remains one of the most promising places to search for living organisms beyond Earth. The discoveries at Jupiter carried with them a deeper question. If even the moons of a distant planet could be so dynamic, so filled with activity, how many other worlds might harbor the conditions for life? Since the 1960s, the SETI project had scanned the skies, listening for signals from other civilizations. No conclusive messages had ever been found, but the possibility lingered. The Drake equation, a simple line of mathematics, suggested that life could be common. With billions of stars in our galaxy, each with its own planets and moons, how could Earth truly be alone? And so, Voyager carried its golden record. On its surface were instructions, etched for any who might someday discover it. Inside were greetings in 55 languages, the sound of waves and wind, the calls of birds and whales, the laughter of children, There were photographs of mountains and forests, images of cities, scenes of people working, dancing, and loving. And there was music, from Bach and Beethoven to folk songs of distant cultures, 27 tracks, chosen not just to represent us, but to move whoever might hear them. It was never certain that anyone would. The odds were vanishingly small, but that was not the point. The record was a gesture of hope, a message in a bottle cast into the cosmic ocean, saying simply, "We were here. This is who we are." As Voyager crossed the outer planets, life on Earth went on. In 1977, China emerged from the Cultural Revolution. Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll, died unexpectedly. In movie theaters, new stories unfolded, while millions of people made pilgrimages, fought wars, fell in love, and raised families. Even as our world continued its familiar rhythms, a small probe slipped further away, quietly carrying our story into the dark. After Jupiter came Saturn, perhaps the most breathtaking of all the planets. From afar, its rings looked like a single bright band, but Voyager revealed their true nature, billions of icy particles ranging from grains of dust to blocks as large as houses, orbiting in perfect balance around the planet. Together they stretched wider than 6 Earths side by side, yet in some places the rings were thinner than a kilometer. Seen edge on, they vanished into a line so fine it seemed impossible they could exist at all. Up close they glittered, a shimmering halo of ice and light. Among Saturn's moons, one world stood apart, Titan. Wrapped in a dense orange haze, Titan was the only moon in the solar system with a thick atmosphere. Scientists believed it resembled the early Earth. 15 years later, the Huygens lander descended through Titan's clouds and confirmed what Voyager could not see: rivers and lakes carved into its surface, but not of water. They were filled with liquid methane and ethane, strange hydrocarbons flowing where rain and rivers might flow on Earth. Alien, yes, but hauntingly familiar too, as if we were staring at a mirror showing what Earth might have looked like billions of years ago. Voyager's journey was not luck. It was the product of extraordinary precision. Its path was shaped by gravity assists, a technique where the gravity of planets acts like a slingshot, accelerating and steering the spacecraft on its way. Engineers described it with an impossible metaphor, like hitting a golf ball in Washington, D.C. and sinking it into a hole in Arizona on the very first shot. And they did it with hand calculations at a time when computers could do far less than a modern phone. Teams of scientists checked and rechecked the numbers, losing sleep over the possibility of a single error, one mistake, and the spacecraft might have been lost forever, trapped in orbit or flung into the void. But the calculations held. Voyager swept past Uranus, past Neptune, and continued outward, riding a once-in-176 years planetary alignment that allowed a grand tour of the outer solar system to be completed in just 12 years. Today, decades later, Voyager is still flying. It has left the solar system, crossed into the space between the stars. Its signal is faint, so weak that it takes hours to reach Earth, but it is still there, a whisper from the edge of the unknown. Voyager is now the most distant object humanity has ever built. It is a messenger, carrying our presence deeper into the galaxy. Perhaps it will drift for millions of years. Perhaps no one will ever find it. But if someone does, if a distant civilization one day lifts that golden record and presses it to their ear, they will hear the voices of Earth, and they will know beyond all doubt that we once lived, that we once dreamed, and that we reached for the stars.